Following a grueling all-night session, the United States Senate passed a massive $70 billion immigration enforcement package as the sun came up over Capitol Hill. To pass a bill of this size, the Senate usually needs 60 votes to break a filibuster, but leadership bypassed that requirement by utilizing budget reconciliation, an obscure procedural loophole that allows specific spending measures to clear the chamber with a simple majority. The bill passed 52 to 47. The immediate strategic objective was to secure guaranteed, uninterrupted capital. The legislation fully funds immigration and customs enforcement alongside Customs and Border Protection for the next 3 years. This animated timeline shows how a 3-year funding window effectively insulates the administration's agenda. By pre-authorizing the money now, the current Senate strips future Congresses of their primary tool for oversight, the power of the purse. Securing the border budget clears the way for the administration to execute a wider legislative offensive. This single bill operates as the opening move in a multi-front federal blitz spanning from immigration enforcement to domestic labor policy. The $70 billion is directed at 2 primary targets: expanding ICE and CBP personnel and rapidly scaling up massive detention capacities across the country. Securing the necessary Republican votes required some significant financial compromises. Lawmakers successfully stripped out a highly debated $1.8 billion Department of Justice anti-weaponization fund to keep the coalition intact. They also eliminated another widely criticized allocation, $1 billion originally earmarked for a new White House ballroom. This chart shows the Congressional Budget Office's estimate for the legislation, revealing a wide gap between the headline number and actual spending. While the bill authorizes $70 billion, only about $23 billion will actually be spent between 2026 and 2035. While the Senate uses billions to dominate the border narrative, federal agencies are quietly executing a parallel offensive to reshape the American workplace. The Department of Labor recently rolled out Form LM2, a new administrative rule forcing large labor unions to fully disclose all financial transactions with foreign individuals or entities. At the same time, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission forwarded a proposal to scrap a 1979 affirmative action rule. This moves the agency toward a direct crackdown on corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. In Congress, a bipartisan Senate effort is underway to regulate college sports name, image, and likeness deals. A specific clause in the proposed legislation guarantees that student athletes remain classified as non-employees under federal law. From border walls to union halls, the administration is rapidly cementing a deeply conservative domestic framework designed to outlast any impending shifts in political power. Because the Senate bypassed traditional legislative negotiations, opponents are looking outside of Capitol Hill for alternative points of leverage. The ACLU recently filed a class action lawsuit targeting a 5,000-person tent facility at Fort Bliss called Camp East, Montana. The filing alleges horrific living conditions and severe medical neglect inside the camp. Meanwhile, municipalities in Maryland, Washington, and Georgia are utilizing a novel administrative tactic. They are weaponizing their own local environmental and zoning laws to block the construction of new ICE detention warehouses in their jurisdictions. The federal judiciary is also intervening. An appeals court recently blocked the administration's attempt to roll back temporary protected status for roughly 350,000 Haitians living in the United States. When the federal government relies on blunt procedural force, the opposition adapts. They use the courts and local bureaucracy to grind the execution of these policies to a halt. Back in Washington, D.C., the $70 billion package now faces a deeply divided House of Representatives. The opposition in the House is being driven by a recent, highly publicized incident, the fatal shooting of a U.S. citizen by ICE agents in Minneapolis. Progressive lawmakers are demanding a total end to militarized policing tactics. To force the issue, they are threatening to block the $70 billion border bill entirely. Because House leadership controls the chamber by a razor-thin voting margin, this progressive threat poses a lethal danger to the entire immigration package. Every single vote is required to pass it. The Senate played its strongest procedural card to future-proof its agenda. but the final verdict rests on a volatile, razor-thin margin in the House. Hit subscribe to follow this story as the legislative battle reaches its climax.